Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm over at Gaston Automotive Services in Dallas, North Carolina with my buddy Micah. Casper is going in the shop to get the transmission. This is going to be pretty cool. We got a lot of work to do to Casper. It's been a long time since you've seen Casper, but I promise you it's going to be worth the wait. Should be good. I'm going to pull this thing in the easy way. Feel bad for the old boy that's been sitting out here neglected. Yeah, when it's 100 degrees outside, you don't work hard, you work smart. Ain't that right? Yeah, we ain't pushing nothing. No, we're going to use the super duty. I got to get off in there and help. Yeah, you're pretty good. Alright. Yeah, we're good. Oh, it feels good to see this again. Get in there. So it's been months since you've seen Casper. Probably the beginning of the year, really. It's been over at Micah's shop out back, and honestly, I just hadn't had time to get over here and do anything with it. Truck Wars I mean, it's full-fledged now, so the press is on to get this thing out there and get it kicking S10 butt. This is where we're at. In order to put that transmission in here, all this had to be changed. I took the gas tank out, bench seat, had to cut the floor, new transmission tunnel, which that's not bolted in. See my super cool killed up shifter in there. That's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. You see that I put floor pan in this thing when I first got the truck. It's been 15 years ago maybe, but put that patch in. I got to do the other side because it's looking pretty rough. I don't know if I'm going to do it now or do it later. Probably later. The goal now is just try to get the transmission in, get my new seats in here, bucket seats. But yeah, this is going to be pretty cool with that shifter. Got new carpet there, ACC carpet. Yeah, let's get this thing up in the air. Well, folks, believe it or not, it fits. And you can see where I had to cut the floor up here. I mean, it is tight, but it's going to work with the C6 tunnel. I mean, you can see back here, there is no real estate left for the Casper-Matic. So it can be done. Putting the E4OD in the early F100s. I mean, this is a monster of a transmission, really. Yeah, this is history right here. Casper-Matic. Now, here's where things are going to get dicey. The angle that the tail shaft is coming down in relation to the 9-inch back here. And getting these drive shaft angles where they need to be so it don't beat the drive shaft out of this thing. This is going to be interesting. See, it works still with the drive shaft loop. Probably need to move this back another couple inches, but everything is up in there. So now it's got to get the flex plate bolts in and see what happens here. When they don't make it, you got to improvise.
Who knew a C4 transmission mount would fit on an E4OD?
Look at that.
There it is.
There it is. The only thing that's different is this uses metric bolts versus standard. So that's a win. You're gonna have to go under the frame to get it right, I think.
Dang, look at that.
Look at that.
We racing this thing tonight.
Woo! Send it. Later.
If we had a drive shaft.
If we had a drive shaft.
Brandon, go get a drive shaft.
Yeah, I'll just shoot around.
We know a welder.
Brandon, weld this drive shaft up. I mean, that ain't far off.
Well, we got the transmission jacked up, so.
Right, you let it down, it's gonna be worse.
Well, no, it'll go up in there. Like that.
There you go.
Put the through bolt through it, and we got to make some marks here and drill it. Yeah, that's not Ford approved, but that's what we're rolling with. Here we are, day number 2 here at Micah's shop. Yesterday, once we figured out that the cross member would actually work, we buttoned everything up just so that we could get it on the ground, and we actually went drag racing last night. But this morning, before we get started, I want to talk to you about the transmission that's going in Casper, because a lot of new people to the channel, they might not be aware of what's going in it, but it's really special unit. It's not a normal transmission. The transmission that's going in Casper is a 4R100 that was done by John Cope of Cope Racing Transmissions. Why a 4R100? Well, first of all, we know that those transmissions are bulletproof. They can withstand diesel torque. So, and it's loosely based off of a C6 automatic. Okay. Well, Cope designed the first ever reverse manual transbrake valve body for those transmissions, and the transmission that we're putting in is number 002. Tim Jacobson has 001. He was the mule, if you will, for Cope in developing this transmissions, and I got number 2.
Tim Jacobson. Jacobson out of the Stocky Lightning Performance Stable, South 1201.
This is going to be a game changer for this truck, because not only is it going to be able to withstand the power that we're going to be making, it's going to have overdrive with lockup capability. So I can drive this thing down the interstate 80 miles an hour and not be turning a ton of RPMs. So let's get back onto the job on hand. Earlier in the video, I told you that the drive shaft would be the biggest challenge. Well, let's take a look underneath here, and I'm going to show you the angles that I'm working with and try to explain a little bit about drive shaft angles. Now, like my daddy told me when I was growing up, boy, you know just enough to be dangerous. So I am not an expert on this type stuff, but I know that what was in Casper worked before. So if we can kind of mimic that and get things where there's no vibrations, I will be happy. Okay, so I have the angle finder under here. What I'm going to do is put it up on the end of the tail shaft and see it. I've already done this. This comes out to be about 6.5, 7 degrees is what we're going to call it. Now this angle is locked. This is stationary. You cannot change that. Once we set the height of this stand or the cross member here, that's a done deal. The rear axle, on the other hand, is a completely different story, because it articulates as the rear end separates or compresses, and that's just nature of the beast with leaf springs, even with cow-track bars. So let's check this angle. You can see this angle is getting close to 8, maybe 10 degrees, something to that effect. Now, yesterday, before we closed up shop, I set the thing down on the ground because you really need to take these measurements on level ground with weight on all 4 wheels, just as it would be sitting at the starting line at the drag strip. Now, I just told you this thing had 8 to 10 with the rear end fully extended on the lift, but on the ground, it was next to 0. So, with that being said, is it going to be okay? I don't know. Let's go take a look. Okay, so you're going to have to forgive my artistry here because I am not an artist. But you can see what I have going on here. That's the tail shaft of the transmission. This is the rear axle, leaf spring, cow-track bar. Now, right here, we're going to call that 6.5. We're going to call it 7. Coming down from the transmission. Remember, this is fixed. On the rear axle, it's completely different, like I said, because sitting static rod height, weight on all wheels, it's around 0 to maybe 2. I mean, I'm up underneath the truck. I really can't see it, but I did see it next to 0. All right, we know that fully extended, we're at 9 to 10. So where does that put us? Well, going back and looking at footage of Casper running at the track, I can get an idea or estimate of how much separation I'm having off the hit. With that being said, I'm guessing that this thing is going to end up around 7 degrees because it's not topping the shocks out in the rear, but it's getting very close. So that's how we're going to set it up, and hopefully once we go to the track, I can take my GoPro and mount it underneath the truck and actually look at the launch of the drive shaft angles and see if I need to revisit it and maybe put some wedges underneath the leaf springs to change that angle. Because remember what I said, with the transmission, it's fixed. Now, luckily for me, I'm still using polyurethane mounts, but if this had motor plates in it or solid mounts, that would be a fixed deal. And if I tried to change it, I would end up with a broken transmission case. That's how that works. I've seen it, and every time I've seen a broken transmission case in a drag car, it makes me wonder 2 things: drive shaft length and driveline angle. Somebody tried to get it where it needed to go, put preload on it, and crack the case. We don't want that. So this is set, that moves, and so you have to find a place in the middle with leaf springs. All right, enough talking about drive shaft angles. It's making my head hurt. Back on this cross member, we pretty much decided we're going to leave the transmission in the location that it's in. We're going to take and cut the cross member here all the way across and re-weld it to where it will be inside the rail here. I do not like having it on the bottom of the rail. That's just me. Gonna get my buddy Brandon Marr, the guy who owns the awesome bump side F100 that you've seen at Shady Side, and he's gonna do this stuff for me. And yeah, let's talk about some other stuff. Pretty obvious that the 50-year-old Monroe shocks are not going to get the job done, but you have to remember those 50-year-old Monroe shocks was consistently in the 140, 60-foot range. Since we're going to be hitting this thing with a ton more power, it's time to upgrade the strange double adjustable here. You can see the part number. These are actually for F100s. For now, I'm just going to mount them in the stock location, and if I don't like that, then we may move them behind the axle parallel just depends on how it works with the truck, if they control the launch. Basically what I want to do is slow down that separation as much as I can, because it's going to be a lot more violent off the trans brake and getting into some nitrous. So we may end up launching this thing in first gear, hitting nitrous in second, because this thing does launch pretty hard in first. I don't know, we're just gonna have to test and find out. But that pretty much wraps this up for today. I've got the flex plate bolted in, a bunch of other small piddly stuff, and but I've got to get this truck back outside so that Micah is ready to open for business in the morning. So I got to get off from here and do that. So until next time, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage, and remember, Casper is back. Catch y'all later.